So Life with Derek has a pretty rocky start. The first season is pretty sexist, the second season gets a little bit uncomfortably romantic between the brother and sister, and I feel like we saw all the best this show has to offer in the first half of the third season, and we're covering the second half, and I'm telling you, at this point, I'm emotionally drained. I'm like, what is going on with this house? The Venturis clearly need a lot of work, and I'm really hoping they either clean up their act or at least get more entertaining by the end of this third season, because this is a lot to watch on Uncle Johnny's shoulders. So let's get into the final 13 episodes of season 3, and then I guess start mentally preparing for the last season. I don't know where this show is going, honestly, and I'm scared, so please buckle in. So this new set of Life with Derek episodes start with Summer School Blues, episode 14, and this episode's all about not being in school anymore, something that we've not seen on Life with Derek, and it's really funny the way things play out. It's basically Derek's miserable because he has to go to summer school. He didn't pass one class, and that's a reason he has to be there all summer. The teacher doesn't even feel interested watching him the whole time, so Derek is alone in this classroom, miserable.
Ready to begin my prison sentence?
Casey's excited because she's running a camp at that same school. Perfect. Thank God she's not away from him for more than 2 seconds. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so she's getting all these kids to have the best summer ever, with Marty being one of the kids in the class, which is nice because we could actually talk about it later. But of course, she becomes super lame and nobody wants her as a camp counselor because Casey is Casey and not fun at all. Why would you want to have fun with her?
Casey, we talked about this. Summer is for playing, not for problems.
Who says you can't do both?
Lizzie and Edwin have nothing to do because all their summer activities were messed up by the parents, which is kind of sad. I feel like these guys always get like the worst of the worst, and it's not fair.
Worst summer ever.
So they're like, oh, we have to be inside all summer, which is the opposite of a problem I think I would have had. I feel like I loved being inside all day, and especially in summer. So these kids wanting to go outside, I feel like it's more of like an adult wishes type world. So Derek tries to sweet talk his way out of summer school over and over again, but like I said, is only really able to get the teacher to leave, not even get him out of detention. He still has to show up, but if he passes the test, he can get out. So I guess it's not like a full-on life sentence of an issue. Edwin and Lizzie start this like pet watching business because I guess they just have nothing else to do, so they make the time super productive, start getting a lot of money. See, this is what happens when your parents don't put you in camps or allow you to socialize. Like, then kids start trying to do things adults would do, and it's not a good idea. Like, don't spend your summer trying to earn money at age 12. But they do. They spend all of it trying to take care of the animals. Edwin doesn't do a single thing. It's just Lizzie, so that's not really that fun.
Hey, how do you walk a gerbil?
Very carefully.
Derek ends up intruding on the whole camp experience for Casey and makes it way better than before, adding fun to the whole equation. And since he's still preparing for his test, I guess he could get away with it. I don't know why Casey wouldn't like tell the school board or something. Like, I would get in trouble for this. But yeah, these kids finally have such a good summer because they have somebody like Derek who actually is helping out, and Marty being in the class is definitely emphasizing the whole experience. So yeah, he's just finding something to do. Poor Casey being tortured at every instant. She was the only one looking forward to this. But they have a weird moment where he puts a hula hoop around her. I don't know. These guys, their chemistry is weird. But hey, I'm sure there's more opportunities for us to get into that, isn't there? The episode does kind of have like a sweet ending where Derek is just turning out to distract himself with this whole summer camp thing. So Casey and Marty start helping him out and try to make his summer a lot better by helping him study. Oh, okay. That's a sweet plot.
Oh, we thought we'd put a little fun into your summer learning.
Oh, thank you. Now go.
So yeah, they get him out of his whole summer situation and finally have a good time during the summer. But Lizzie and Edwin, of course, still stuck doing this home business, get sued by the state of Canada.
Marvin is suing us?
No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine if that's how it went down? No, it's not gonna happen. Most importantly, Derek passes his test by the end of the episode, and they have a little play fight, him and Casey, and I guess that's how it ends. Yeah, so Derek's not in summer school anymore. Good for him. The show's like in the middle of its third season, so it's a weird like content gap for me to have taken a break, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me. This is gonna get more serial as we go, trust. Next episode. So Home Movies is episode 15. It does some of my favorite tropes in a TV show. What is that, you ask? It's when the characters pretend to be making a show about their daily lives and it ends up just going haywire. Yeah, so if you can imagine who's doing it this episode, it's Casey. So Casey and Derek both apply to do the video portion of a school project they have. Apparently only 3 people in the class can do it. I don't know why they would limit something like that so much. That seems kind of a creative stunt, but okay. Yeah, they're doing that in this high school, and Casey wants to make a movie about blending 2 families.
My film will suggest that if 2 very different families can live together in harmony, then the world can do the same.
Meanwhile, Derek wants to make Ed Weirdo, which is a superhero he to promote.
Hi! I'm at Weirdo.
Yeah, and so Edwin's in a superhero costume this whole episode. Get used to that, because it's not going away. And Casey is the one who gets chosen to do this project. And even though Derek didn't get a choice to, he wants to be the camera guy, but Casey doesn't let him.
Who better to film the fam than someone in the fam?
She has Emma do it from next door. You remember Emma, right? Her school friend. So yeah, Emma's in their house this whole episode. Kind of nice to have that. And recording everything going on. There's a lot more conflict than Casey intends. And since she's a controlling person, surprise, surprise, she tries to take control of the narrative.
Now, Derek, how great has it been having 2 new stepsisters and a new stepmother?
Having Lizzie lie about everything that's going on in her life, having Edwin trying to be this persona, and George forgets how he met Nora. So that becomes kind of like a plot line between the parents, the dad not remembering their anniversary, and yeah, that's this whole episode. Derek doesn't want to be a part of it at all because Casey didn't agree to let him be the camera person, so he's kind of protesting, kind of insistent that he's not a part of the family anymore, which he would love so he could be with Casey. Haha. Now, this is just me making jokes at that point. So she cuts him out physically of this picture and tries to make this whole scenario work. When she gets back with Nora and George, they end up in even more fighting and more fighting. Literally, she's just cutting people out of the picture one by one because they're not saying what she wants them to say. And this even drives Emma to quitting, which I would too. This is just such an awkward, inauthentic experience. So Casey starts writing scripts for everybody as if she wasn't controlling the narrative enough.
Just because it's scripted doesn't make it fake. It's like those reality shows.
Like, people stop caring. Like, George and Nora start reading from the scripts, but it's just cheesy and wrong, and she's running out of options until Derek comes through and saves the day. Finally, the chaos in the house makes a lot more sense. So Derek takes over the camera, and everybody gets through Lizzie's school project. Oh my gosh, I didn't even mention Lizzie's doing a school project as well as Casey, and she's doing it about the rainforest, which is a huge deal, and they're trying to get the perfect diorama, and throughout this entire episode, the diorama keeps breaking or gets in the way of Casey and her documentary. So it doesn't really work out in the end for Lizzie. They even get it on camera of them destroying the rainforest, which is kind of sad. In the end, they bring the video to class. Derek pieced it together very masterfully. Casey is shown in a very positive light thanks to Derek and his editing, and seems like the blended family is actually a really worthwhile story. Very sweet that he came through for her in this episode. It's nice to see them actually get a lot of good comedy beats out. Casey and Derek arguing in a comedic sense kind of makes up for their relationship a lot, because it's okay, this is just a part of the show. It more so bothers me when it's really romantic tension and it doesn't really have to do with the plot. It's just pushing them to resolve it by making up to one another. That's a weird sense of power for me, so we're gonna move on from that. The next episode is called Grade A Cheater, episode 16, and this one is very morally complicated, especially when it comes to Derek. Derek ropes Casey into one of the most schemey experiences you could imagine. So it starts off with this really important test. Of course, Derek did not study for it at all. His bandmates and hockey player friends Sam and Spinner from Degrassi are super concerned with how this is going to end up, especially since he would not be able to compete in the tournament if he failed. Worst comes to worst, they get to this test. Casey fills it out, Derek fills it out. It's a lot harder than both of them expected. But it's even more crazy when they get the results on the board, which, by the way, we don't do that in America. You don't put the test results on a board. I don't want to see other people's grades. That's going to be really annoying. Casey gets a 55 and Derek gets a 68. Oh my gosh. We learn that Derek actually switched the scores. He got the 55 and she got the 68. She's really upset about this, but she's upset in general because 68 is still the worst score she would have ever gotten.
Ever since that 68 on your math test, I can't see you becoming any kind of physician.
Oh, come on. There's got to be something else I can do. Forget about neurology. What about podiatry?
Foot doctor?
So it's not even about the whole principle of it all. Derek is like, well, 68 is enough for me to pass, so just let me do it. So then she's like, okay, I guess I could just ask for a retest. And that's kind of her plan of action. Meanwhile, the siblings have their own plot because they're super undervalued and represented, so they have to fight for their rights. The parents are like, okay, Casey and Derek have a big test coming up. They're finals, so you gotta make sure you guys do the chores that they didn't do. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. So the whole episode is them protesting Nora and George, which is actually really funny. They get full-on picket signs and walk throughout the kitchen. And I don't know why. It's just really cute seeing these guys like take initiative. They're definitely gonna end up better than Casey and Derek, which deal with the cheating plot line. So Casey does get a chance to retake the test.
There's just any way I could have another chance, you know? With a clear head. It's just... Sometimes I wish I just wasn't such a romantic.
When she's nervous that she's actually not gonna pass, Derek has to help her because then she's gonna tell on both of them. Okay.
Casey, take a deep breath. Out with the bad thoughts, in with the right answer.
So Derek and Casey are forced to work together. Meanwhile, Casey has to get a perfect score on this test or she's gonna be so embarrassed. She's watching the clock, she's like fantasizing about, you know, how she's never gonna amount to anything because of this whole cheating scandal. And meanwhile, Derek runs in with the test answers. Oh my god. So Casey gets all the answers and has to deal with cheating herself. Is she going to not cheat or is she going to? Because the teacher's not in the classroom, so it doesn't even matter. Oh, okay, well, the teacher catches Derek under the staircase, finds out that both of them were cheating, and wow, this is actually a huge issue. In the end, they have Max come in and says that he cheated too, which Casey found out earlier. Oof, kind of dramatic. Casey kind of compares him to Derek.
You know, Max, I thought you were different, but you're just a cheater, just like Derek.
Which is weird. Why would you compare your brother to your boyfriend? But hey, it's a free country, I guess. And yeah, she pressures him to come clean, which he does later, kind of softening the teacher up enough for Derek and Casey to get a less intense punishment for this whole thing. All around, the morals in this are very interesting. It ends with a negotiation with Edwin and Lizzie and the parents of like how much they're actually responsible for, which I really respect. I like that they're good at like taking care of themselves in that way. And yeah, Derek and Casey finally get out scot-free. We learned that Casey got an 80 in the end, but hey, is she lying or what? Yeah, no, she lied. She got a 73. So the point is, nobody's perfect, and Casey is done controlling people. Oh wait, that's never gonna happen. Okay, let's get to the next episode. So next we have season 3, 17. Ivan Who. I was really confused about what this episode was about, especially by the name. It's like very, very hard to wrap my head around. The first 10 minutes is them struggling to go to sleep. Like, Casey has a test in the morning, Derek just has school in general, and all the kids don't have anywhere to sleep. We see how testy these kids can really get to each other, especially since they're siblings. Like, the way they share space and how they actually go about helping each other. Like, it's very not positive. Casey ends up not getting a good night's sleep at all and doing really bad on her test. The most important part for her, though, is that when she was asleep in class, nobody woke her up, which also would make me angry too. More specifically, Max didn't. He even left a note, said, "You look cute when you're sleeping." So it becomes a whole conversation on chivalry and if it's dead or not.
I thought chivalry was dead. Why do people keep saying that? Because it like so is.
Which, by the way, I don't think chivalry is dead. I definitely think that there's a point of being a gentleman and a point of being a womanin. And it's just always important to have manners and like respect the other person. I don't think it's specifically gender assigned when it comes to that stuff. I feel like that's the only thing I would question. But otherwise, Casey's just questioning Max this whole episode. Like, how much is he willing to do for her? And she even tests him by telling him to stand up to Derek. And this is where it gets weird. Like, why do you have to incorporate Derek so much in your boyfriend issues? So she keeps setting up scenarios where Max can defend Casey in front of Derek and he does not take them. You know, it's kind of hard because Derek's the most popular guy in school. But hey, Nora's not really a good help because her and George talk about chivalry as if like he never does it. Like, come on, George. But is that really a surprise? George doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
I am the man of the house, nay, the man period.
George ends up trying to stand up for himself and his relationship with Nora by fixing the leak in the roof, which is what caused them all to have the sleeping issues in general, which, oh, okay, that kind of checks out. I thought that was irrelevant for a second. And yeah, Casey has a talk with Max about how important it is to her that he is treating her like a lot more respectfully respectfully than he did before. You know, like there's a difference between treating somebody like a princess and then full on like respecting them, opening the door for them. Like you have to have boundaries with yourself and what you're willing to do. And Max is just, he's a little bit passive of a character. He doesn't really strike me as the kind of guy that is doing this for the right reasons. Like, I don't know, he just seems like he is expecting things to work out. A high school relationship, I guess. The point is nobody wins in the end. Except for Max, because he's still able to date her despite being like really not great of a boyfriend. But hey, they have a little talk at the end, discuss like what they would want to see more of in each other do as their relationship, which is really good and communicative. I think that's a good way to end the episode. The whole Casey and Derek thing, of course, they have to wrap him into it as much as humanly possible. They are unable to make an episode without him. But yeah, Derek and Casey just get wackier and wackier, but at least Max is pulling in the weight. Like the last episode, he is actually standing up and like, yeah, I cheated, and she's putting in her weight. Like it's fair. It's a good relationship. Next we have number 18, Derek Undone. And this one's fun because obviously it's named after Derek, but it's more so Casey's issue. They're gonna have a dinner party at the Venturi's house and Casey needs Max to come. Max does not want to do that whole part of the commitment thing, you know, where you have to meet the family, go to dinner and socialize with them. It's scary. I would be scared too as the boyfriend, but that's what you do at that age. That's just how it works. Derek is sworn off girls in the last episode, but this time he's determined to get with that waitress. The waitress that he met at McNally's, yeah, she is officially out of a relationship as revealed through just casual dialogue, so he is going to seek that out. She shows up to his house where he pretends to be like lifting weights. Ridiculous. Derek is so funny sometimes though. And just kind of invites herself over. Oh gosh, it's so weird. So she's just about to leave, but then she wants to cook for the family. And George is like, well, we'll take any cooking. And it's like, come on, George, you have a little bit of standards. Don't make this random house guest cook for you. But she does with the help of Derek. And of course, Derek's into it because he has a crush on her. So while Derek has his crush over, Casey is bringing Max over. Great. Every time they have romantic relationships, they always have to be coincided, always have to be right next to each other. And oh my gosh, Marty grills Max, and it's so funny because she's like asking him personal questions about like who he's dated and everything, and I kind of want to know the answer too. Max looks like a full adult. Like, I get it, he's not actually that old, it's just he looks younger in True Daxon VP that it bothers me. Derek ends up asking out the girl, but he is rejected. She just wants to be his friend, so it really kind of bothers him, breaking him, becoming Derek Undone. Meanwhile, Max has not called Casey yet, like at all, so it's fair to say this relationship is over, which is kind of crazy to think that like this is crossing a line, but the fact that Casey is always spying on Derek, revolving her life around him, that's a little insane. He eventually admits that he was just so nervous and thought that Casey's family didn't like him either, but he really does care about her, so they end up staying together. That's great. Meanwhile, Derek approaches the waitress and is like, hey, like, I thought you liked me. Oops. And yeah, he just gets his heart broken over and over again. Soon he starts flirting with other girls, making her kind of annoyed, which is crazy because she rejected him formally. They get into an argument at work, and I guess the only way to relate to Derek ever is if you have an argument with him, because that just seems to be the only way he communicates. Meanwhile, Edwin and Nora are teaming up to get George's old band back together. Aw, that's kind of a sweet side plot. Reminds me of the Phineas and Ferb episode where they get the band back together, no pun intended. And yeah, so they just get a bunch of old men to play a song in their living room, which Derek is like, why are we doing this? And I am on Derek's side this time, actually. Yeah, this was a good episode. I like that they actually incorporated the family and relationship issues intertwining as opposed to just having Casey's issue and Derek's issue. Like, everything seems to be going in full motion in this episode, and I really like that. Number 19 is the sickest one. It's Sweet 16, not so Sweet 16, really. And of course, Casey is having her Sweet 16. And if we learned anything from those prom episodes earlier, yeah, things do not go Casey's way. The more you try to control something, the less you are able to let go of it, the more complications you're probably going to have. And she learned this the hard way in this episode. So she is strictly against surprise parties. No surprises, she doesn't like any of that. She tells her whole family and is setting a boundary with them, right?
I can handle any surprise, as long as I'm given plenty of warning.
But then Derek comes along and is like, no, she does want a party. Everybody who doesn't want it says that. So Derek starts to, behind the scenes, plan a huge birthday party for Casey, a sweet 16 with all of their friends and pretty much the entire school at Smelly Nelly's. And yeah, so he's doing that this whole time. Edwin's trying to talk him out of it, but yeah, it really doesn't help. Casey plans to have a nice light dinner with 6 of her friends with the help of Nora and George, which both have no idea what Derek is actually planning. And this gets really crazy because Casey ends up having to get surgery the night of her party. So she's like, okay, let's just cancel dinner. And then Derek reveals that no, he was going to have a full-on party for her. So they can't cancel it because then he would have to cancel his party. And then we learn exactly Derek's true intentions. He just wanted to have a party and was using Casey as an excuse. Very like heartbreaking because that is going too far. So yeah, Casey ends up in the hospital. Meanwhile, Derek is like entertaining a bunch of guests at the party. Emma and Max are like, this is not appropriate. Why would we stay here when Casey is in the hospital? And you tell me why Casey told Derek before her own boyfriend how she got in the hospital. That's crazy to me too. Like, why is Max there and surprised at this new information? They all are pretty much against it. Derek ends up going with the family and is woken up by Derek, who actually puts on a bunch of scrubs from the hospital, and the episode ends with him getting in trouble and none of the family helping him, which is a fair repercussion for the fact that she completely iced out Casey on this one. This one was a really fun one because it feels like the prom but a lot more practical, and Derek's intentions by using Casey just to like have his own party is very up to code. It just feels like we're getting onto the same plots over and over and over again, and it always has to lean back to specifically Derek and Casey and their relationship, when this could have just been a normal party episode. I felt like it went a little too far in the way the Casey and Derek like went back and forth with each other when it was really like a Casey-centric episode. But hey, it is funny the way it like panned out and how Derek had to try to turn everybody onto the idea of having the party without her, which crazy move. The next one is episode 20, driving lessons. And this one's really crazy. I can't believe how irresponsible George gets in this. So Casey and Derek are both getting their license. Derek has practiced through video games, of course, and Casey is genuinely parallel parking and working on it. Meanwhile, Derek fails pretty quickly and doesn't tell anybody. He even like lies about it, tells Casey the driving instructor just didn't like him, which yeah, I don't know, Derek. That's a far-fetched one. Meanwhile, George takes ownership of all the responsibilities he has to do with the house. Nora thinks he's not responsible, and he's like, no, go away for the weekend. I will take care of everything. And of course, that's not gonna go uphill from here. Casey and Derek have a bet that the first person to get their license would pay the other person's car insurance, which is actually kinda crazy. Casey doesn't believe that Derek didn't pass his test because of the instructor, which is so funny. And they end up both taking the next test at the same time. The woman does exist, so Casey's extra nervous, but she passes anyway. When you think it's a victory and they're about to celebrate, George realizes that his license got suspended. Now, not only has Derek failed his test and already has to pay Casey for all of this stuff, but Casey has to teach both George and Derek how to drive in order for them to like get their license and back on the road. This poor teenage girl.
I cannot believe I'm doing this.
So yeah, Casey takes Edwin, Lizzie, Marty, all to their chores now that she has her license, which by the way, wouldn't be a burden for me. I remember getting my license and I loved it. But Derek is just so irresponsible, and like he thinks he could be cool about this situation, but there's nothing cool about being unsafe while driving. And even Marty points that out to Derek, and Derek is like, okay, fine, whatever. I kind of like that they don't have any choice but to be better, because this is like a government thing. Like if you want to drive, you have to pass this test. By the end of the episode, they all pass the test, and everything is very positive. All around, like, really funny episode when they have to have, like, driving-related plots. And Derek and Casey being against each other is not romantic enough, thank God, that it had to get that place. That's when we get to Cheerleader Casey. Ooh, interesting. So we learn more about Max, that he has a backstory, aka an ex-girlfriend, who's a Ted of the cheerleading squad. Her and Casey do not get along right off the bat. Not Casey's fault, she's super friendly. It's just, this blonde girl is super rude about it. She wants to join the cheerleading squad, but Max is like, please don't. And it's because of her. Like, why would they be on the same team? She would just be a bully. And it's like, why would Casey not sign up for an entire activity just because her boyfriend's ex is there? Ugh. But then she does the audition, does a great job, and they don't accept her. Oof.
Heinous. You didn't even do one cheer. This is cheerleading, not ballet.
So now it becomes an actual conflict of interest. This girl is not letting Casey join just because she's Max's ex-boyfriend. And there's where the drama comes. I don't see the other cheerleaders doing full-on like gymnastics here, so why does Casey not get the role? Next thing you know, Derek hits on Max's ex-girlfriend. Even weirder. This is where the incest is getting a little too far. And so they start dating each other. Very quick relationship. He's just doing this about Casey, wants to be with a girl, and she's just, I don't know, she's just in love with Derek. I don't know where that came from. So she starts giving Casey a little bit of a chance because Derek is dating her, but it definitely leads to a lot of conflict between the two. Like, how could they ever go to each other's weddings if this really does work out, considering both of their partners are exes? Like, what the heck? I wish the counselor got involved at this moment. Like, these are school required activities. I don't know why he thinks he can't just, like, talk to another adult about this. Casey is, next thing you know, on the cheer squad thanks to the rest of the group. And now they start listening to her instead of the blonde girl. Oh my gosh. So now Casey is, like, taking over the entire club, not even meaning to. She's, like, embarrassed about it. And this girl is complaining to Derek about it. So Derek and Casey have an issue once again because their significant others are having a problem with it. Casey actually confronts this girl and is like, I know how you feel. And they relate to each other on a personal level, making it actually possible to do a cheer together. And then they have this like super obnoxious routine that like, of course they just introduced sports and then now Casey just suddenly is a part of it and they have a whole routine. Like that's just classic sitcom at its best. And then the next one, is so annoying because it honestly makes me think of this one a lot. Like that was Casey joining the cheerleading squad and now this is Casey joining the school play. And it feels like not that many elements have changed. Like she wants to be a part of the school play and Derek is also going to be a part of it. He's an ensemble cast member. I don't know how he even signed up for this if he didn't want to do it. Like the school play is such a big commitment. I just watched so many like theater related episodes of these teen shows because of one of these retrospectives I was doing. And this by far is like probably the worst because they make fun of musicals in a way that doesn't even like make sense. It's just them singing normally and they pretty much insult the art altogether. They don't even do a full production of like any named show. It's just a untitled pirate performance.
Step off and stay clear. Get out of my face. Or the planky be steered.
With only Casey and this lead guy rehearsing. Like, how do you do an entire show with just 2 characters? It's ridiculous. One of the other pirates ends up dropping out, leading the teacher to be like worried about how they're gonna replace him. And of course they go to Derek right away. Why in the world would they go to Derek of all people to take this role? This of course upsets Casey and Derek is like, he doesn't want to do it. The teacher is basically like, I'm gonna fail you if you don't do this. In a nutshell, like she asked him to do a book report and if he can't do it, he's just gonna have to be in the show. Meanwhile, the guy in the show is dealing with like masculinity insecurities. He reveals that he only did this show as a part of a dare and he's too scared to dance. Meanwhile, he's a great singer, so Casey is trying to get him out of his comfort zone and help him be not ashamed to perform. And it's not even that, like the stakes aren't high, it's not cute. Derek doesn't want to be in the performance, they just throw him in because his name is in the title of the show. And yeah, so he's pretty miserable. He ends up coming on stage having a song to himself and you could tell he gets super into it, as all kids do in theater. It is normal in high school to at least have like 1 or 2 shows under your belt. Like even if you're not a theater kid, like it's still nice to be a part of something this big. You could tell Derek gets his confidence up because he has fun up there and he's a good pirate. I don't know why they have another like 3-minute song that they wrote for this. Who wrote these songs? Like it just doesn't seem like an actual show. Like they have so many copyright free musicals they could have pulled from, but they just made this general show. The guy actually brought Casey flowers, which reveals that like maybe he was crushing on her, and Max is like seeing her after the show, which is awkward. But yeah, Max at first is like, oh, I'm not gonna come to the show. And then once he sees Casey react super upset, which by the way, not hard to figure out, he goes opening night. Good boy. Made the right decision. And yeah, so Casey is super happy and I don't know, this feels like the beginning of a cheating storyline? Who knows? Episode 23 is actually really topical. It's called Allergy season, and it's not just referring to getting sick around the holiday. It's more about like the mental part of getting sick. Casey in this entire episode is feeling like overwhelmed, overworked, and she's just sneezing up a storm.
Bless you. Bless you. That it?
The therapist tells her that like maybe this is mental, which is a good consideration. I agree with this guy. The therapist is actually really cool. He's definitely got my vote for here. It's basically a series of Casey assuming it's one thing or the other, because she usually doesn't get that sick. And the only thing she's noticing is all these new patterns in her life. Like, for example, like she hasn't gone to poetry club in a while. She hasn't done anything that used to be Casey-like. Of course, this seems like a bad sign for her. And at first she thinks it's all because of Max. So she's worried she's allergic to Max, which everybody in her family laughs at, because it's like, why in the world would you be allergic to your boyfriend? Meanwhile, Derek's parents are finally breaking down on his rudeness. Like, he starts insulting people way worse than normal because Edwin has a pimple and he can't help but roast him. So George steps down and is like, okay, we're gonna do like $1 every time you say something mean.
Sorry, D. You crack wise, I get the prize.
Which actually like puts Derek back in line. The loner kid just sits idly by. He's in the poetry club and is wondering why Casey like really ditched all of her favorite activities. Kind of random of this guy, but it's more so to like trigger Casey. And she fully realizes that maybe she's sick because she's changed her entire life since she started dating Max. Now that he's about to win the football tournament, like she's kind of lost her identity, which is actually a really good plot for a teen show. Like, there's nothing you'd struggle with more at this age than, I guess, over-identifying with your friends, your relationships. There's just something you're clinging onto for your identity that Casey is going too far with in this one.
I think I lost my identity.
Did you check your wallet?
So, crazy enough twist, she ends up breaking up with Max, and that is like kind of the later half of the episode. So I'm like, oh shoot, are they gonna make up, or is this for real? And it turns out, yeah, it's for real. Meanwhile, Derek is still getting charged for all of his insults, and George tries to kick it up a notch, saying that if he can go an entire week without insulting anybody, he'll give him like $50. Derek takes this on, and by the end of the episode, Casey tries her poetry again, which is kind of like her way of reclaiming her independence, the hobbies she once loved, and of course, that is enough insult for Derek to throw away $50 and give it to George.
Woof. 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 Woof.
All around, this episode is very interesting because it's like struggling on the inside, struggling on the outside, and Derek forking over a bunch of money to make up for his attitude, which I think is really funny. I wish they continued this past this episode, but obviously it would make too much work. I feel really bad for Max out of all people because Casey doesn't realize she wants to break up with him until like right when they win the game and they're gonna go to the after party. It's interesting though because it definitely is out of her comfort zone to be a part of the popular crowd to begin with. So noticing these traits in herself and that she kind of wants to reevaluate her life is actually really cool and honorable of her. And I feel like a teen show wouldn't actually have that because it's not funny, it's not entertaining, so shows don't usually end like this. So that's why I'm kind of proud of this moment. They even kind of give it an emotional beat with Casey just alone in the hallway after she breaks up with him. The next episode we have, episode 24, is called Things That Go Bump in the Night. And this one is actually pretty unique. I feel like they haven't done this plot on the show quite yet, where Casey and Derek are teaming up. At first, it's just about Casey and Derek trying to go to a party. George is like, I'm not gonna handle you guys bickering ever again. It's getting frustrating and your flirtiness is making us all uncomfortable. Just kidding, he doesn't say that part, but can you imagine if he did? That would be kind of awesome. This episode also kind of goes a direction you don't expect. Let me get into that. So Derek and Casey are told they can't go out for the weekend to the same party, and they're pretty much protesting this, but they can't. They just have to stay at home. Meanwhile, Lizzie and Edwin are getting into finding clues. He has the Super Sleuth 3000 kit where he could actually like detect fingerprints and all this stuff, which is actually kind of cool for the middle siblings. They always have something interesting going on. Good for them.
Dad, don't confess before we've collected the evidence.
Yeah, thanks a lot, George.
And of course, now that Casey's single, which is a nice acknowledgement that her relationship with Max is continuing to not go back to the way it was, it makes the party seem all that more important. Casey and Derek then confide within each other that they're going to be sneaking out. Ooh, and it's so funny because Casey gets unrealistically into it. Like, at first they're just on the couch trying to keep it cool and not drive suspicion until they sneak out into the garage to take the car.
What took you so long?
I stuck out my window and climbed down a tree.
Why didn't you take the stairs?
Because if I'm gonna sneak out, I want the full experience.
Everything takes a wild turn when Derek accidentally hits the car behind him, his dad's new car. Oh my gosh. So now they don't even like go to the party. They basically like hide upstairs and try not to admit to the guilt. It's so funny though, because like Casey being into all of this is a little far for her character. Like she purposely goes out to climb the tree. She tries to do everything that a robber would do and even plans it out with purple pen. I don't know why that part was necessary, but okay. She writes out like a list of like how they're gonna get away with it. Marty ends up finding them hiding under the table, but they kind of seemingly get away with it when George comes back and sees them both in their rooms.
I thought you and Derek might have snuck out. Can you believe that?
But then, hey, they do not get away with it. They don't even go to the party. It's just the next morning, they just are super guilty about this whole thing going on and hoping they could leave it behind them. Like, George is like, oh, somebody hit me at work. Maybe they'll get away with it, sure. Until Edwin and Lizzie come in with their sleuth kit and actually start figuring out what's been going on, which is the unique twist of the episode. I feel like it's cool seeing them go and interview Derek and Casey and actually figure out what's been going on. It's actually not hard to figure out it was them. Like, I don't know who else they thought it would be. Eventually, Edwin and Lizzie present all the information to George, but Casey feels so guilty, so she admits everything they did. Only to find out that Edwin didn't even suspect them, so like they weren't guilty to begin with. And of course, they end up getting punished long term, and it's over for them. Although it's nice to see Derek and Casey work together. There wasn't as many romantic vibes, which I was pretty okay with. And just seeing that it wasn't like a generic party episode where they're trying to get away with it, that was a breath of fresh air. They're trying to get away with something completely different. It's like that trope of like the shattered vase where all the main characters are trying to fix it, and with both of them being involved, that's funny. Things That Go Bump in the Night is such a cool name for this episode too, because it's like them trying to be sneaky. Like, of course they're not gonna get away with it. But hey, it doesn't get crazy until the next episode, guys. Derek goes way too far. I've never seen him go this far in all of Life with Derek until season 3, episode 25, and it's called Derek's School of Dating. And this one is exactly as the title recommends. It's a bunch of different people needing advice for dating, and Derek's the one to insert his intelligence into it. It doesn't start out that way though. It starts out with Sally confiding within Casey, so we get a confirmation that she and Max are broken up, and yeah, this girl's trying to comfort her, but really she's just like, hey, I kind of like your brother. And Casey's like, okay, I guess I'll talk to him for you. But she's not really jealous, is she? Now, she kind of like takes it under her wing to like actually do some snooping for her. But hey, it could have been a sweet moment where Sally was checking in on Casey about how she was doing with the breakup, but then it just turns into a fave, which kind of makes the whole experience a lot more negative for me. Like, I kind of respect Sally a little bit less for this whole deal. Ralphie, who is Spinner from Degrassi, Derek's best friend, ends up getting a girlfriend in this episode, and Derek watches his friend turn into, you know, like this really soft, sensitive guy, which always is a negative thing in the high school shows. The B-plot, Edwin trying to attract a girl, and he takes advice from Derek. This girl's like, oh, let's go out for the weekend, and he's like, no, I gotta play cool. So Edwin blows it at every chance he can by listening to Derek. And Derek, oh my gosh, his advice definitely doesn't work, because when he finds out that Sally likes him, he starts to get defensive and actually starts to counterattack almost. Like, he's upset that he was rejected earlier, so he's like not taking it for some reason and starts giving Edwin even worse advice, almost having his relationship ruined. Casey tries to be like nice about this whole thing and set up Derek and Sally to reconnect at their house, but then George tells the boys this is about to happen because he thinks he's, you know, connecting with them on dating and everything. But no, George, you're just a big blabbermouth. I'm so upset he does this. It definitely bothers me because it's like, why don't you just listen to your wife and not tell anybody this? Derek decides to purposely show up with this girl Amanda, the one that Ralphie's dating, to make it seem like he already had a date that night. He's claiming that he's the one who's in charge of surprises, which actually is pretty accurate considering that Home Movies episode from earlier in this season, because he's very like hypersensitive to that stuff. So Sally ends up walking out and all of their chances are ruined. But I like that we actually get to see the dad be accountable for this. Like, the girls confront him and they're like, why did you do that? And he's like, oh, I don't know. So then Edwin is smart. He actually goes to Lizzie for advice this time, who Lizzie does kind of this thing Casey does where she sets him up with the girl he was talking to, pretty much explaining the miscommunication. Meanwhile, Derek starts to regret his actions, which I can't believe he didn't even think of like what he was doing earlier. How insensitive is it to bring another girl purposely knowing that this girl you like is going to be there? Like, Derek, that is sadistic. Not only is it sadistic, it's kind of psychopathic. I don't get what he's trying to do here. And later he has to actually ask Casey to set them back up again. And it's not easy. Sally has not forgiven him because he's a jerk. Meanwhile, George gives Edwin advice, and it actually means a lot to him. So the combination of George and Lizzie actually gets Edwin another chance with this girl. And I guess Lizzie's whole thing is she lied to her, saying that Edwin actually can't go on a date with her because he just has other plans. But I don't know if lying is the way to go about this whole thing, guys. In the end, Derek tries to finally woo Sally by showing up with like flowers and a jukebox. And there's a moment where we think it's like not even Sally, and this old man comes out and you're like, what the heck? But then yeah, Sally comes out and the two share a kiss. So it's kind of like the end of an arc for the will they won't they with Sally and Derek. But yeah, by the end of the episode, Derek's school of dating becomes the most infamous trashy advice episode, in my opinion. But with all that said, the final episode of the season isn't actually as dramatic, which I'm kind of disappointed. I wish they would have switched this episode and the last episode. This one's called A Very Derkus Christmas, which is okay.
Sun, sand, girls in bikinis, that is what Derkus is all about.
And this actually follows the parents, it feels like. You know, everybody's getting ready for Christmas, and everybody has their own plan. Like, Casey and Lizzie are gonna go skiing, Marty and Edwin are gonna go somewhere, and then Derek and Ralphie are going to Florida. Oh my god, I can't believe he's flying into the States. So George and Nora kind of want to have Christmas alone this year, eating like fish and like having a private date. Okay, sweet. They finally get the house to themselves, so they are in bliss.
Who needs turkey when you can have quail?
A Christmas quail?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, their plans are ruined when George's aunt shows up. Didn't expect another new member of the family. I don't know why they keep introducing these guys out of nowhere. And so they're not going to be alone for Christmas after all, which is kind of annoying because it's like, okay, so then the kids left for no reason. Oh well, George goes along with it and everything is okay. Until a giant snowstorm hits, causing pretty much all the kids to come back one by one. First, Edwin and Marty, pretty upset. Then Casey and Lizzie. And nobody's really happy to see this woman. She doesn't really play a huge part in the plot, just for the fact that she keeps the parents busy long enough, so I don't know what that counts for, but fine. And lastly, Derek comes home, and that's where the midpoint of the episode strikes. It's kind of cool that like he wasn't really in it up until this point, and now he's back, and everybody's having such a horrible Christmas. The aunt actually talks to Derek and says like, you've always been this like bright kid that loves to make everybody happy, and now you're not like that. And it actually inspires him to bring Derkus to his family instead of going to Florida, which fair enough. So then it's up to Derek to bring back the holiday, which he actually takes it upon himself to do. And I find that actually really sweet. I don't think he needed to do that. And it's nice that the aunt is put in a relevant way that actually inspires him. Like, cause it seems like nobody in the regular family would have got him to do that. And it's really cute. Derek ends up hosting this school play of all the kids reenacting how their parents met. And it's very cute. I feel like I've seen this done on many sitcoms, but for some reason at the top of my head, I cannot think of it. The point is, the entire third season ends at episode 26 on a Christmas episode. I was not expecting that. I feel like the other seasons thus far had a good ending episode that actually made you want to watch more. They think since Derek's School of Dating was like enough stakes to raise that they would just take this like filler episode. Hey, we're in a time now where we don't remember when these came out. We just have the episode list in front of us. And this is not a fun way to end it, guys. I'm just saying that. But hey, at least we got Derek's furthest episode, like the episode where he gets the most unhinged right at the end of the season. Like, that's enough for me. Seeing Max and Casey break up, wasn't expecting that either. It's nice to have like a huge turn of events, but I hope that comes back in season 4. All around, like, this set of episodes were really fun to watch. I feel like they were just going off and having fun, giving the kids plots a lot more spice to them, you know? Derek and Casey don't seem to be as into each other, thank God, but yet it's still a little bit unhealthy how much she harps on his life and he harps on her life, considering they hate each other and are arguing all the time. Like, they really must like each other if they're gonna just insert themselves like this, especially considering where this season started versus like where it's going. I don't know, that's just my take on all of it. Yeah, this is the last time I feel like everybody's going to be as young as they are. The next season kind of takes like a little bit of a leap forward, so I hope you guys enjoyed this final set of episodes. This is the 52nd episode of Life with Derek, therefore the 52nd episode I reviewed. And I gotta say, the show's had a lot lot of ups and downs. The highs were really high, but the lows were really boring. Honestly, like, it's one thing if the lows are low, but at least don't make them boring. All around, it's okay. We had a good time, and I hope you enjoyed this whole season to begin with. I can't wait to dive into the final season. Make sure to keep liking and subscribing, all these Life with Derek retrospectives, and maybe even check out my other retrospectives. I really appreciate you guys and your support, and it's so fun to keep watching this with you. Let's keep it going, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This is Johnny 2000, and have a great day.